Today on Twin Cam, I'm back with Paul, who's just run outside off camera. And we have Melody's cleaned and stripped down gearbox that today we're going to rebuild. So Paul has, in the interim in between videos, taken this box away and cleaned it properly. And since it's come back, the selectors are installed. So this is our starting point for today's video, where we're going to build it back up, and then I can take it home and hopefully put it in Melody, and hopefully there are no issues. Before we turn any attention to the gearbox casing though, we need to do something fiddly and rebuild the Synchro Hubs. On the table are two Synchro Hubs split into their inner and outer hubs. These are the really magical parts of the gearbox that mean you don't need to double declutch or rev match when changing gear. Each inner hub contains 3 holes in which you need to place a spring, then a little ball bearing. This is what exploded when we were disassembling last time. With the springs in place, Paul's placing the hub in a tool that lets him drop the ball bearings into place, then twist the hub to force them home. Then, by flipping it upside down, he can press the inner hub into the outer hub without the ball bearings ending up in his T. As he does the next one, you'll notice the cone on the edge of the outer hub. This engages with the gear itself, while the inner spline of the Synchro Hub splines onto the main shaft. Paul's helpfully demonstrating how the inner hub is free to slide across the outer hub, and when changing gear, that's what allows each gear to synchronise with its neighbour with the help of a bulk ring. The gear then slides across the top as their speeds synchronise, and you can take your foot off the clutch. So now we can bring back the gearbox case, freshly cleaned. And as I mentioned earlier, the selector forks have already been installed. Removing these was the final job we did last time, and if I was slightly more competent, you'd be able to see the shaft down the right hand side of the gearbox as you're looking at it. The next thing we need to install is reverse gear. I'll let Paul explain.
That's it. Pop that in. Make sure that little notch there is facing upwards. Make sure the slides in and out okay. And get it into gear. That's it. Okay, that's working.
I'm concerned at just how satisfying I found that. You can't beat mechanical engineering. And next on our to-do list is the reassembly of the main shaft. Paul's just mentioned to me that he decided to replace second gear altogether as it was horrendously worn. To put your mind at ease, everything that needed replacing has been replaced, and rather than dwell on what's new and what's not, we're just going to get on with it.
Ball ring on third gear. And your hub, which I've just rebuilt. On that. Ball ring on second gear, which was the main issue to begin with. And hopefully no more punching anymore. Sometimes these can be a fiddle so long. This one's gone okay actually, that's good. Okay. Next your top hat, which basically supports your first gear bearing. Need a little tap down. Just going to get a knocking stick. First gear bearing. And then your first gear. Ball ring.
And now that's ready for fitting. There are no bearings in the casing yet, so for now, the shaft's just resting on the selectors. Having flipped the box around, we're now working on the clutch end of the engine with the drop gears that make front wheel drive, Izagoni style, possible. And Paul's installing the input shaft, then the bearing to hold it all together, complete with its annoying circlip, as well as the corresponding bearing on the other end, securing the main shaft to that U-shaped arch in the casing. That did take some time. We'll recover for a moment by installing the oil strainer, and we have to do that now because next on the agenda is the lay shaft, which covers the top of the strainer. More new and shiny parts to damage my wallet. The lay gear has a small set of bearings in each end and can be laid down into place before the shaft is slid through it. If you remember back to earlier, the slot in the reverse gear shaft had to be facing upwards, and similarly, a slot in the lay shaft has to face downwards, and this locator links them both together. Across to the main shaft again, and this C-shaped retainer secures the bearing in place, and that completes the two shafts, so we can turn to the final drive. Beyond the main shaft retainer, there's one further pinion that meshes with the differential, and its counterpart on the other end is the input gear that takes its drive from the engine crankshaft above. Just to keep all you nerds happy, I'll let you see this single lock washer. I shouldn't have to say this, but be assured that all the little thrusts, circlips, shims, etc. are being installed as they should be. If you remember back to last time, to undo everything, Paul engaged two gears at once, locking up the shafts and allowing him to loosen the nut. Well, we're doing exactly the same thing here, but to tighten everything up. The main gearbox casing has two covers, one that houses the differential and another for the speedometer drive, so we're ripping into a gasket set that will, slowly, over a number of videos, eventually be used up. The first gasket Paul selected is for the speedometer drive, doubling as the end casing. A-series engines and gearboxes have a long and proud history of leaking oil, but there's nothing special required to stop them leaking, just careful assembly. Paul's not even using dedicated sealant on these gaskets, just a bit of grease. And spoilers, I can gleefully tell you all that nothing on this gearbox leaks. Yet. A handful of bolts that secure the end casing also secure the Metro-specific engine mount, and with more metal in the way, the speedo drive itself can be bolted to the top of the casing. By tilting the gearbox onto its front, we can see the hole for the final drive, and the differential can be laid to rest. So you say that you've changed the bearings in this?
Yeah, bearings have been changed. I've checked over the diff, it's absolutely fine, there's hardly anywhere at all, but then again, it was only 40,000 mile car, wasn't it? Engine, wasn't it? So I wasn't expecting a great deal of wear in it, but it feels nice and tight as well, so yeah, there's no issues with that. Right, on the early gearboxes, the A series, they had gaskets on here, but on the A plus gearboxes, they just use sealer from the factory, so that's what I'm going to do.
With the differential now hidden away, hopefully forever, it's just a case of many more fasteners, and beneath them all, the dreaded gear selector.
Right, the seals I use for the gear linkage, or the gear change, are these Corteco ones.
It's where it always leaks from, isn't it?
Yeah, and these don't leak, they're brilliant. They're better than the ones you get in the kits.
I hold you to that.
And mine hasn't leaked, so all right.
On each side of the diff, the drive shaft housings have their own gaskets, and just as before, Paul's found it best to just use grease, so that's what we're doing. Our final job is to stand the gearbox back up and fit the oil pickup tube to the strainer, and that is one Austin Rover A+ gearbox, totally refurbished and ready to be fitted to a certain little Austin Metro. In the next video, we're not going to go all guns blazing into fitting the engine, as there are some jobs I want to do while the engine's out, including cleaning, painting, fitting a new exhaust, new engine mounts, and a new oil pump. So if you're nerdy enough to look forward to something like that, then please do click like and subscribe to TwinCam as well. I'm forever indebted to my wonderful Patreon supporters, so if you'd like to support me that way, then please do follow the link in the description. Alongside it will be a link to Paul's channel, and I'm sure he'd appreciate it if you jumped over there as well. And I'll have more videos coming along soon.